Celine Miller is a highly skilled sales executive offering 18 years experience in strategic leadership for international expansion. With experience in building teams, expanding business internationally, and maintaining relationships with retail clients, Celine has turned her attention to dealing with her customers directly, one-on-one, as she builds a great Airbnb business out of her backyard, literally. And then Clayton Peterson, he is an artist and musician turned restaurateur and events space entrepreneur. So Clay runs and owns this space that you're in here, the Westside Museum, and runs the Boathouse Collective across the street where you had your lunch from today. Clayton has spent the last 10 years building a business and developing 2 ultra-unique experiences in an up-and-coming part of Costa Mesa. His entrepreneurial vision has caught the attention of food critics, art lovers, and music aficionados alike, and his spots, Boathouse Collective and Westside Museum, are local favorites. Today, I want to see how the different but similar paths are connected. So we're going to mic them up real quick, and we'll get Celine and Clay up here, and you guys can give them a warm round of applause, and we'll get our show started.
It's good we have the chairs from when my kids were 2 years old in my living room up here. Yeah.
Well, and I found them in the back. So
recycle.
Well, what I love about these two, so I'm going to stand up to the side and we'll see this okay. What I love about these two and why I thought there was a connection here is because I've known both of these two for a really long time. Celine and I worked together at Volcom for many years, and she did all the Canadian distribution and sales, and then went and worked for Penny Skateboards. And I was always intrigued because then Celine went out, she started to do some Airbnb business at her home. And we'll show you some pictures. And what I loved is Celine started doing things that were what I thought were outside of her box. And we would come over, and every time we would talk to her, she was doing something new, and she was building something, or she was working on her home, or she was building this really modern, cool dwell pod in her backyard. And she was saying, hey, I'm Airbnb-ing, and I'm getting some good income. And it's pretty cool. And every time we'd go, she'd be working on something in her shop. And my daughter loves it because my daughter loves to build things. Celine would come over and they'd build stuff. But every time we'd go over, Celine would open up her garage and she's got all her tools out and doing everything herself. And eventually, Celine now is no longer working for any company. She's just doing Airbnb at home. And her Airbnb ratings are soaring. And she's got people coming to her to come feature her. And she's teaching people how to Airbnb. And she's become an entrepreneur, or a solopreneur, if you will, because she's just doing things on her own. But she's got a really strong DIY ethic, and she's doing it all herself. And Celine is one that's not afraid to learn and just say, hey, I don't know how to put in tile, but I'll go do it. Hey, I don't know how to put in a bathroom, but I'll go do it, right? Clay has the same ethos. So Clay built and it all stems from these chairs here. Clay has been working on his vision of the Boathouse Collective, which is this amazing music, restaurant, bar venue across the road, which is such a great place. And we've done a lot of things together that I've been fortunate to be a part of with it. He's got this space, the Westside Museum. But Clay has been working on this for so long out of a passion that chairs like this, or the benches that you've got, or some of the architecture and pieces are things that he's just known. He's like, I'm going to need that one day. And so I'm going to hold on to it, and it's going to be the right thing. And you can laugh now, but it's like these chairs were going to be used someday. And here they are. We got the chairs up on the stage.
That's right. And I only have 20 other containers full of stuff.
Exactly. So what I wanted to do today is kind of see if I can talk to you guys about some of your experiences and go back and forth and see if we can find some connections and correlations. So maybe for both of you, at one point, Celine, I'll ask you first, but at what point did you know that you kind of had something that you could chase down and pursue? And the same question goes to both of you, but did you have sort of a click moment where you're like, you know what, I can do this? And what was it that got you there?
So for my case, I worked in the action sport industry, and after the recession of 2008, things looked pretty bleak. Jobs were scarce. People were having pay cuts, and I realized at that point that I had to find a plan B, something where I can survive, because when your salary gets cut, unfortunately, your mortgage stays the same, and you got to pay the bill. So I heard about Airbnb about 6-7 years ago. I started renting my first bedroom in my own house. But then I decided to build a tiny house in the backyard, and it's at that point that I realized that I could survive just doing this and no longer need to have a desk job, basically.
Yeah. And Clay, how about you? Did you have a desk job? What were you doing before you pursued the Boathouse Collective?
It's interesting. I was in a completely different Are we there? Check, 1, 2.
Check, check.
Completely different environment entirely. I started a surfboard blank line, one of the first 100% recycled surfboard blanks, which are the cores of surfboards. And that was something that I launched in a market where there was literally a monopoly from a company that had been out there for 40 years. So that was an interesting experience, and I grew that, actually launched that out of the Boathouse location. And similar to your story, Celine, in 2008, things kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
The blank company moved to Irvine. We kind of downsized, shifted, and I was going to lose the lease at the Boathouse, but the space is amazing. It has this energy, this vibe that I couldn't let go. So I decided to sign another lease and started doing events there, private events. And it's something that I'd been doing this annual fundraiser for the 12 years prior to that 2008 collapse. And I was like, I can do events. I do this big event every year. It raises money for John Wayne Cancer Foundation. And I'm like, okay, I can do events. I know how to do this. I'll bring in the food, alcohol, and sign this lease under the guise of I'm going to create this event facility, and it's going to be food, art, music, and we're going to do fundraisers, and we're going to support the community, the local artists, and the creative community that resides in Costa Mesa, Newport area. And that built itself slowly, 2008 to present time, into what it is today. We went and got our liquor license, got the city approvals, found an amazing chef, amazing people around me, and created what is now the Boathouse, which has been open to the public for 3 years after our event.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
By the way. Did you guys both feel like you were entrepreneurs? Did you always want to be an entrepreneur, Celine? Did you know you had it in you?
So absolutely not. For me, it happened organically. I got a little cornered in my career, and for me, it kind of built little by little, you know. When the little house went viral on the internet, then I realized that I had something and I had to keep on building upon it. But no, I can't say that I had that entrepreneurial fiber. Like, you know, you see a kid at the corner of the street selling lemonade.
Yeah.
That never happened to me.
You've developed it. Clay, how about you? Were you always an entrepreneur, would you say?
Yeah, for myself, I'm much like Charlie, your little daughter. I grew up in my dad's garage building things and finding ways to go out and make money in the neighborhood. You know, I'd find the rubbing compound in there and figure out it takes off rust, so I'd go create a business that strips rust off everybody's wheels from their bikes. And I'd go around and do that for a few months, and then I like landscaping. I'm going to go plant someone's garden. And I found out that if you're trustworthy and you can deliver on what you say you're going to do, it doesn't matter your age, people will hire you and they'll bring you back to do things.
Yeah.
So I always had that entrepreneurial spirit to kind of create something.
So, and then you guys have kind of where your paths maybe diverge is, Clay, you're an entrepreneur doing things with a team, working through the city and the government and getting things done, going through all the red tape, building out buildings. Celine, you're essentially doing this on your own at home, you and your laptop.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a different setup because we have a platform as Airbnb that does everything for you. Mm-hmm. So you can be by yourself. You're the head of creativity, the head of design, the head of sales, and the janitor also. You know, it's like a one-person job.
Yeah.
But because of the platform, it's completely feasible to be by yourself until a certain point. Now I'm starting to have 3 listings. I'm starting to feel, you know, maybe the need to have somebody help me, but
to have an assistant.
Yeah, possibly.
And so, Clay, though, you immediately kind of had to have a team. I mean, I know you like to do a lot of things on your own,
yes,
but you had to relinquish some of that and eventually bring on a team, and you had to have people help you.
Absolutely. I like Celine's model better, less overhead, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But yeah, in the beginning, you know, as an entrepreneur and starting something like a food, art, music venue, you think, you know, the vision of it is, okay, I can do this. I know how to do this. I know musicians. I have an amazing chef. We can make this happen. And you do try to do a lot of it on your own in the beginning. But as you go through that process, you realize you need good people around you. And because I am the type that tries to do everything myself, but you can actually bury yourself in your business by not bringing on people, which I'm sure you've heard several times today. It's who you have around you. Maybe not in Celine's case, but in most businesses where you need a team around you to operate these type of spaces, it's essential.
Yeah. What have been some of the barriers or hurdles or sort of the barriers to entry for both of you guys? So what made it hard to get where you're at, and then for you as well, Clay, Celine?
Again, having a platform the way we have, anybody can work for the shared economy. You look at Uber, you look at Lyft, you have like ride sharing. All these platforms are giving you an opportunity to start as an entrepreneur from the get-go, you know? So I think as far as I'm concerned, you know, the platform just gave me the head start for.
How about setting yourself apart, though? What would be one of the hardest things about setting yourself apart from everybody else that's on Airbnb?
Mm-hmm. So that's the harder part. I think, you know, now everybody rates you on the internet. You have Yelp, you have Airbnb, you have a system of points that you get if the customer had a good experience. So as far as I'm concerned, what I have to do is set myself apart by offering more quality than a lot of other Airbnbs. So I match whether the hotel is going to offer, whether it's like a plush robe and the plush white towels and all that stuff, but I'm also going to have snacks in the room. I'm going to have a speaker. I'm going to have a USB cable. I'm going to have things that a hotel doesn't, or you have to call a concierge maybe to get it. It's right there in your room. I'm going to hand write a note to the person coming. I have people sometimes coming for an anniversary, so I'm going to chill some champagne for them without, you know, telling them ahead of time. I'm going to put rose petals. So it's all these little things that, you know, they go home and they go, wow, I did not expect that. She went above and beyond. And
yeah, so attention to detail.
absolutely, yeah.
Clay, what's been the hardest part for you getting the Boathouse up and running and the museum here?
This is not vodka, by the way. This is water. I know it looks a little suspect.
What we are talking about are the hard things, all the
Yeah,
hardships.
right.
You're
The
like, let me
hard,
take
that's
a
how I
swig.
get through it right there, people. Let's see, some of the hardships at the Boathouse. That is the Boathouse right there. It literally was a boathouse in 1960 through 1975. They built a lot of the boats that are in the harbor here, and it's literally what they would call a post and beam building, which is you have your beams structure that go up the side, and you have your roof, and there's no framing on the walls or anything. So when I went to get this building approved for public use and go official, if you will, the city came through and they said, okay, you have to you know, seismically upgrade the building. You have to tear out these shed walls, and you have to build real walls. You have to put in heating and air and all the kitchen equipment, everything to operate like a proper business. So I would say some of the early hurdles were actually finding out what I had to do to that existing building, which is where it had to be. I wasn't going to go open this up in Fashion Island or South Coast Plaza. This had to be in the middle of nowhere, essentially, was the model, in a building that has no sign and is a unique experience from the get-go in just trying to find the location. So there wasn't an option of, okay, well, why don't I move it over here or move it over there? This is where I want to do it, and I figured out a way by working with the city and finding out what I needed to do, and then raising the money to be able to pull that off.
Okay. What about expenses, though, for both of you guys?
Expenses, raising the money for this project was difficult because it was such a kind of a dilapidated building to start with. It wasn't as simple as just going into a strip mall and starting a restaurant. Yeah. So as you discover things through the city process, it's an interesting process because it's like, here are the things you need to do, but you need to hire an architect and electrician and electrical engineer and all kinds of engineers that all give you pieces of information along the way. It stretches the timeline, and so you're paying rent on a building while you're getting all this different information, some bad, some good, city saying that's good, that's not gonna work, you gotta do a different way. So you're constantly shucking and driving around trying to figure out exactly how to get what the city wants, and that extends your timeline, which raises your bottom line that you gotta come up with. That was probably the most difficult part of the whole thing, was keeping the money flowing as we were going through the process.
And so it's never just a simple thing, though, simple get it done kind of thing.
It's not. I mean, I think it could be if it was, I'm going to this strip mall where there's already been a restaurant, I'm going to pop in there and I'm going to open up my concept, and that's definitely the easier route, and that if you're interested in getting into that world, that would be suggested if you want to keep it easy. But we were trying to do something different. It's definitely a gamble. Everybody that looked at what I was doing, when I spoke to other mentors, other restaurateurs, they were like, "You're crazy. You're going into the middle of nowhere. It's location, 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 and that's the worst location I've ever seen."
Good luck.
Yeah, from family to friends to everything, they're like, "You're crazy." But there's, a vision that you have to follow, and here we are.
Yeah. And Celine, how about you? So, I mean, you built another little house in your backyard. Did you have to go a lot with it? Was there a lot of red tape to go through dealing with the city, or did you just kind of, do they even know about it?
Well, to a degree. They
Make
know
sure
there's a structure in my
keep them out of
backyard. They don't necessarily know I have electricity and water in it. So that's kind of the part I just didn't.
You didn't hear that here at a
No.
park.
Erase that part.
But yeah, like the tiny house, I looked at it that way. I had it's after 40 years old, you have a little bit of a retirement plan. But then, 401k and all that stuff don't make many babies these days, right? You don't get out much out of that. So I figured, well, the room in my house is working out. What about I build something in the backyard? And then later on, I thought about a tiny trailer. So I'm starting to build that. So in a way, Airbnb, you don't have to be rich. You can be renting already a place, where you have an extra room. Many people make a ton of money renting a piece of grass in their backyard and putting a teepee on it.
Wow.
So sky is the limit,
So you started off by renting in your home, though.
Yes.
And so you've marketed yours. So you have different names for each of your locations,
Yes.
right? So what is the space in your home called?
So the nest is in the house.
Okay, the nest.
The nugget is my tiny house.
In the back,
And the nomad is the tiny trailer.
the little trailer, and that'll be a mobile experience, so when people
This
can go.
one is going to be placed at the beach, yeah.
Yeah. How do you guys, Celine, you touched on it a little bit. Actually, no, I want to ask this, though. So dealing with customers for you guys is both two different experiences. Celine, yours is very intimate. The customer is either in your home,
say so,
in your
yeah.
backyard. Clay, you've got people kind of coming and going. You've got your regulars, but you might show up and have a big crowd of, 100 people, 150 people. Tell me about your best customer story. Celine, from your case, then I want to hear yours too, Clay.
So yeah, you touched on it. Effectively, when you have someone under your roof, if they are sleeping in a nugget, that's different. I don't even see them in most part. But if they are under your roof, it's a different experience. Best one, I don't think I have one particularly that comes to mind, but it's just the friendship that you build with people. Some people can stay with you for a couple of months. Some of them come back on a regular basis, and that's the best testament that you offered something special, because they come here every month. And it's just building friendship, talking about culture, because I have a lot of foreigners, so it's always fun to cook food and share that. And so for me, this is the extra thing for
Clay,
what I get out of it.
Yeah, and Clay, I would almost say that's almost a challenge to you, because you can hear that from Celine and be like, oh my gosh, what an opportunity to deal with your customer directly, one-on-one, and know whether what you're doing is working or not, and then expand on that and really create a bond so that they come back. How do you achieve that, what Celine's able to do in your setting?
Right. So since this was such a passion project, my goal in this was to make sure that it worked, given the challenges that we faced putting it together with the location and what have you. My goal from the very beginning was be a participant owner and be there every day. And there's a lot of businesses where the owners are, okay, like, we got it going, I'm going to the beach. And that's just not the way entrepreneurship is, or businesses for that matter. I think people that have that set up in business have worked a long time for it, and they've got a great team around them. That's not what I've experienced. I have a great team around me, but my goal was to visit every table. So for the first 2 years of this restaurant being open, I was there every night, and I visited every table that I could to get people's experience. I wanted feedback so we could make the changes to make it better, or to understand what they're experiencing. And that's kind of, I think, was the most valuable thing about the Boathouse, because I heard time and time again, wow, you're the owner and you're here, you're at our table, you're checking in on our experience, we love this space, tell us the story. The Boathouse, I've been in that building for 15 years. There's a long history that is there, and they love to hear it. And so I think it's those personal connections with your client base, whoever that is how you build long-term relationships. And I agree with Celine. There's not one particular experience that I have. It's all that positive feedback. And even if someone has a bad experience, you need to know it. You need to know it, and you thank them for it, and you graciously accept it and fix it.
Yeah.
And that's a really important part about doing what I think we're doing, is really touching base with that customer and being a part of their experience in your place.
So maybe touching on that bad experience, do you guys have a nightmare? I mean, Danny gave us a crazy nightmare customer service story, or a customer story. Do you have one that's memorable?
I have, yeah, so the thing is with Airbnb, I did my own statistics, and it's about 10% of customers that come under your roof that are unsufferable, demanding, and it's under your roof, it's in your house.
Yeah.
So when I was telling Danny earlier, I'm like, at least the guy didn't sleep in your house, right? But we do have issues with a few customers, and unfortunately, you can slam the door and go somewhere else. But I had everything. I'll give you a couple of anecdotes. There is this girl that came and stayed with me that was eating only, and don't ask me why. She was 21, 22 years old. She was from Japan, and the only thing she ate was chicken hearts.
Chicken hearts.
Chicken hearts. So she had a tub of chicken hearts in the fridge. I'm vegetarian. The meat of the chicken hearts, the thing as a whole, everything is leaking on my vegetable. So that was already something. But the apogee of the whole stay was that on day number 2, she decided at 5:30 in the morning to fry those chicken hearts while I was still in bed.
Oh, man.
So yeah, the smell is death.
And so it's not like having a roommate, because at that point she's still a customer of yours.
Correct.
You've got to make sure her experience is good.
I did ask her what was wrong with her, and the answer was like, it was the jet lag. Oh, well, makes sense.
I'm sure, Clay, you've dealt with a couple of jet lag customers yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Working in the bar industry?
Definitely.
What's your worst?
I don't know that I have a worst. There's always, those nights where there's people you can't please because they've had a bad day, whatever it is. They've come into your location maybe with not the right mindset. Maybe we didn't cook their steak to the proper temperature, and that sets them off. It's a touchy industry, being in the food and service industry with people, because you're kind of at the mercy of the day they've had. One kind of marketing angle on the Boathouse that we did is not to cast a wide net of customer base out there. The whole model was no sign, no advertising, do an amazing job and get word of mouth. So the person that comes into the Boathouse that has an amazing experience will go tell a friend. They'll go, oh, this person will love this place, and they'll tell them. And that is how we built our customer base, really from nothing. And so I'd like to say we've avoided a lot of the customers that might walk into our door that might not get it. If you do these $5,000 ads and you push them out there, you're going to get people that might think they're going to South Coast Plaza, or they're walking into a marble building in Fashion Island, and they're walking into the Boathouse going, where did I just walk into? So it's about how you market yourself and who you're attracting. So I've definitely had the bad customers that come in, but again, you graciously try to do your best, and if they don't come back, maybe they're not meant for the Boathouse.
Is anybody out here, does anybody have goals or ambitions to be their own boss or be an entrepreneur and do their own thing? What's the best thing about being your own boss, you guys? Celine, especially, you're the most recent, I maybe say, coming from from corporate culture, desk jobs, office.
Well, again, I'm a different case, because with Airbnb, you can actually vet your customers. You get to talk to them a little bit before you accept their booking. So that, to me, is beautiful. Being able to say, no, I don't like your attitude, you're not coming in. You can clean up a lot of bad experiences right off the bat. You get red flags and you know them. But so it's beautiful to be able to solve your own customer service problems. It's beautiful to be responsible for absolutely everything. You know, when you mess up, this is your own fault, and you pick yourself up and you try again. But it's the freedom and the freedom of creativity, and just like planning your business the way you feel it should, not responding to someone that tells you, well, that's the way it should get done.
Yeah. And I should have mentioned too, I mentioned Clay is a musician and artist, but Celine is an artist too. So you've made more time for your art
Exactly.
and being creative. So I've loved watching your journey. Clay, how about you? What do you love most about being your own boss?
I love being able to control the creative side and what we're doing. It's a large creative side of my brain drives me, and I really like that side of it. For any of you that are starting your own business or wish to, don't be fooled by, hey, I'll have my own schedule, this will be great, I'll be cruising around. Your business controls you, and on any given day, it'll throw you curveballs where you're at the mercy of your business. So it's kind of an interesting love-hate thing. I wouldn't change it. I've worked for plenty of people, and I've gone to jobs where I'm making great money, healthcare, but I'm not happy going there. And the Boathouse, 15-hour days. Let's see, this week I'm probably running on 20 hours of sleep. I was up till 2 a.m. last night. I woke up at 7 to take my kids to school this morning. And that's just, if you're doing something that you love, none of that matters.
It doesn't feel like work.
It really doesn't matter. So I think that's what I really love about entrepreneurship. If you're doing something you love, it doesn't feel like work, and you feel like you're on your purpose, your life's purpose.
Okay, you guys, I want to say thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of our conference today.
Thank you, Derek.
Round of applause for our host today and for Celine. And thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.